In the forefront of environmental concerns in Delaware is the quality of the water. Someone who has been quoted widely in studying the quality of the water is Ken Kristl from the Widener University Delaware Law. We've had you on the program to talk about the Coastal Zone Act. You've been quoted in different articles about the quality of water in Delaware and the waterways for the last couple of years. So we wanted to have you back for kind of a progress report. What is the state of water in the Delaware waterways now?
Well, the state is that many of the waterways in Delaware are still considered impaired for one or more pollutants. Every 2 years, the state of Delaware has to assess the quality of its water. And so in that process, Delaware has identified, I want to say the last number I heard was 85% of our waterways have some impairment for pollution. So it's still a serious problem out there.
It's a state issue, it's a federal issue.
Right.
We've just had an election. What do you see the focus of in the state and the federal government when it comes to the waterways in Delaware and across the country?
Well, you know, the Delaware does two things. It implements its own environmental control statute, as well as it implements the Federal Clean Water Act. And so it's entirely possible that with a Republican legislature and a Republican president that you might see changes in the Federal Clean Water Act. That doesn't alter what Delaware does. Delaware still has its own statutes. But clearly the driver for clean water has always been the Federal Clean Water Act. And so if there are changes there, then you might see changes in the regulatory tools that are available to help improve water quality.
So you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you seem to be saying that if there's a relaxation of regulations at the federal level, there would have to be an equal and opposite. If they wanted to keep things the way they were or protect the waterways in Delaware, there would have to be an equal and opposite increase in regulations at the state level.
I'm not sure that it has to be equal and opposite, but clearly the state has its own tools to regulate, and it could use those tools or it could strengthen those tools. But clearly, if the federal law is going to change, then there's going to have to be more reliance on the state side.
Just from what he said as a campaign, and we're not sure what he's going to do or he can do, just from what he said nationally, I would think that the regulations that protect the Delaware waterfront would be in jeopardy.
Well, I think that certainly on the federal side, that's a significant risk and a significant concern by environmentalists. You know, I think really the question comes down to, you know, a lot of times what drives that anti-regulatory sentiment is this notion that there is a trade-off between protecting the environment and providing jobs and economic opportunity. I'm not entirely sure that it's either or. I think that sometimes is characterized as a false choice. What we can do is look for ways to provide environmental protection that also have economic benefits. I'm not saying that the current system is perfect in that regard, but the concern is if you just take away regulations for the sake of taking away regulations, there's a cost that's associated with it, a cost to the environment, a cost to the people who have to live in it, and so there needs to be consideration on both sides.
So there's a short-term gain, you would say, for developers, but a long-term risk for us all?
Sure. And let me give you a Delaware example to show you what I mean. In order to reduce the amount of pollutants that would go into Delaware waterways, DNREC decided to create this 100-foot buffer and say that you can't develop within 100 feet of a waterway. That was challenged. The Delaware Supreme Court said that was an improper exercise of zoning power, and so that was taken away. The argument was by having that buffer, you're protecting the waterways, but at the cost of development in that 100-foot strip. So people got the chance to develop, but they lose the chance to gain the protection that buffer would have otherwise provided. So short-term gain, but there could be a long-term cost. And that's what the fight always is.
It will be fascinating to see how this plays
really
out over the next couple of years. Thank you
agree.
so much for
Thank you,
coming
Larry.
in. Ken Kristl, who runs the Environmental Law Clinic at the Widener University Delaware Law School. When we come back, what's the economy going to be like over the next year, the next 2 years? It's interesting that a car dealer in Delaware may have a crystal ball that you may not be aware of. We'll talk to him when the Delaware Way continues.